Hello and welcome to the Property Business Podcast. Once again, I am joined by my co-hosts Jonathan Woods and James Hughes. How are you guys?
Yeah, really good, James. I'm just sat in a prep, wolfing some lunch and having a quick chat with you guys. It's the beauties of being a mobile agent, I think is probably the word to say that.
Yeah. And James, is your phone going to overheat this week?
Hopefully not. Last week I was up in Chester, a very sunny day. I'm sat in the same car, but I'm back in my old patch. Northcote Road, Clapham Junction. I was at B&I training this morning. It's quite interesting, actually. For the first time since setting up with EXP, I had Sunday night blues on Sunday night because I had to go to a B&I training at 7 o'clock. So I experienced what it was like to wake up early, 5:30 alarm, iron my shirt, go down to training, corporate training. So it kind of made me realise or appreciate, I guess, the lifestyle that I have now, that I don't have to do that on every day. It was a bit of an
I'll be honest, to me again. I'm not joining that B&I. 7 o'clock on a Monday morning. It's not happening. That is commitment to the cause, James. I bet everyone who turns up to that one is fully committed to that B&I meeting.
Yeah, it took me a few coffees to get going, but they are beneficial. Like anything, the more that you put into it, the more that you get out of it.
Cool. So we're going to talk about financials today. What is needed to get going to start, not just if you join EXP, but if you started your own real estate business or any business in general. I've started a few businesses in the past, and obviously you guys have started with EXP, and you do need to have some financial backing behind you. It's not like you can just start with £1 and get going. It makes it very difficult in a business to do that. So I thought it might be quite a good way to start with Jonathan, if we start with you and just talk about your progression from leaving your relatively normal real estate job to then start with EXP, the finances, how you went about it.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's certainly something that you come in a little bit, let's say, more naive about what it takes to get things going, and also as a lack of experience in actual business setup. And I think that's one of the fantastic things I found with partnering with EXP was that they gave you a lot of guidance and a lot of help with that from the outset. Now, obviously, if you start any business, you need some form of capital investment into that business to get it going. And it's one of the questions I get asked a lot by new brokers or potential people that are starting to think about doing it is, how much money do I need to get this off the ground? Well, there's two parts to it. One is your own personal life and what your personal expenditure is, which is actually uniquely, I suppose, in this setup is probably where most of your expenditure goes, because the actual amount of money required to get the business going itself is actually very, very small indeed, which is fantastic in one sense, but it just means that you've just got to think about what your outgoings are and what your burn rate is. And what I call burn rate, or a runway, or whatever the terminology that you want to use, is the amount of money that you have to keep yourself going before your business starts bringing you money back to you. So for some people, it can be wildly different. So I have 2 children. I have a mortgage. I've got a large mortgage on a house. So my day-to-day outgoings would probably be a lot higher than, say, a single guy or girl who doesn't have dependents, maybe doesn't have a partner, or does have a partner, but they're kind of separated finances.
You also live in London, which makes a big difference than if you maybe set up outside of London. Your overheads are going to be bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I suppose the trade-off with that is that what we sell and what we rent in London costs a lot more, and therefore, we can usually, we can usually charge a bit more for what we do. So the potential upside is very high, but obviously you do need a bit more money, I would suspect, than you would do in other parts of the country. But you've got to really break that down into what is it that you spend on a day-to-day basis. Could you, for the sake of getting your business going, could you reduce some of those outgoings and work it out? The average sale nowadays takes 3 to 4 months to go through. Some can be quicker and some can actually be a lot longer. But let's take that as an average. Of course, you've got to get yourself going. Ideally, maybe you get a listing in the first month. You then got to sell it. It's then got to go through. So we normally say to people, it's 6 months of money really that you should have as a startup amount of money for yourself. Now, bearing in mind that with any business that you start, if you start a coffee shop or a hairdresser's or a shop selling clothes or whatever it is, you'll have your setup costs for your business on top of your runway for yourself. So with ourselves, our amount of cash that we need for, let's say, £3,000 a month covers all your outgoings. Times that by 6, you've got £18,000 there. But then obviously then you've got the business setup side of things, which if you're running a coffee shop, you'd have to find a premises, you'd have to buy a load of coffee, you'd have to get some machines, you'd have to do the fit out on the shop. And all of that's going to cost money. You're going to pay rent for that shop, you've got to pay rates for that shop. With what we do, we pay, and James will probably go into a little bit more detail on the sort of the sort of delving a little bit deeper into it when he has a chat. But we pay a small subscription fee for £125 for sales plus VAT to EXP, and then they give us a digital box with everything that you need to start up your agency. And then really it comes down to how much time it takes you to get your first listing and how much your time and investment into that goes. I mean, James, do you want to go talk a little bit more about the sort of the extra detail on the costs that you have in terms of setup?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, initially there's about £1,000 of admin. So to be a compliant self-employed broker, not to join EXP, but to be in the industry, your AML, ombudsman, indemnity, business bank account, that's about £1,000. But then once that is done, as John said, it's only 125 plus VAT. I think we said on a podcast previously, there's an agent who's trying to do it all by himself. Rightmove, Zoopla, CRM, emails, IT, back office support. He's not yet on Rightmove, but he's already paying £3.5K a month because he can't afford to be on Rightmove. So if he goes onto Rightmove, his monthly outgoings are then £5,000 each month just to break even. We met an agent down in Battersea recently. Awesome guy, very experienced agent. He's trying to create his own agency, which he has done. He's 9 months in. And his monthly outgoings, he's got a very prestigious location in the power station. His monthly outgoings are £22,000 each month. I was like, bloody hell! I was like,
Wow.
You have to look at EXP for
You
your
have to
own
sell
sake,
a lot of
please.
homes in order to be able to get that money back.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just think of that every month. That 22,000 goes out. I mean, you to keep the lights on and to actually pay yourself anything on top of that, you've got to do 20K a month. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And I'm going on holiday next week for to take the family away. I know that my outgoings are a lot less than that. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And you can certainly put a pause on your business a lot easier than when you've got 20 grand going out.
Yeah. So I certainly sleep easy every night, knowing that if I was to go away for 4 months traveling around the world, my business is only 125 plus VAT. If you add on lettings, so obviously myself and John experienced lettings agents. Once you get your first landlord, you pay an extra £50 a month, so it's only 175 plus VAT. But you only really add on the lettings option once you find your first landlord. Things like photos and floor plan, obviously that's down to you to source your own photographer and videographer. Now, as part of our network, as well as the EXP's business in a box, I've got a little kind of crib sheet for all of the new agents who are joining about, look, there's an accountant, there's a videographer, there's a property progressor. So we recommend photographers that we use personally that are very good. Typically photos and floor plan about £130 to £150 each time. When you're starting out, who knows, you might get 2 listings in your first month. So it's the 125 plus VAT that goes out on a monthly basis. And then your own time, your own personal expenses. It's worth noting that you can obviously run your personal lunches, your coffees now through the business. So it's a business expense, which is good. And then if you get 2 listings a month, £130 for photos and floor plan.
You'll need listing boards as well. I'd probably say something that you would need, and you've also got to think of marketing as well. I think that's the big thing as well that people have got to think about is how you're going to put yourself out there. And there's minimal stuff that you can do that you're going to have to get. Like I would always say, even though people don't use business cards anywhere near like they used to, you're still going to want to have some business cards printed. Obviously not ridiculously expensive at all. And then you got to think about how you're going to get your name out there to get potential new business. You might just have a long line of business already that you can just move over and you don't need to worry about that. But, I think about when I started and I would get a load of flyers done, or door hangers is what we do in America. And I spent probably, I don't know, to begin with, I might have just spent, say, £200 on some flyers and stuff to hand out. You could obviously just print off letters at home, send them out as well. You could go out and hand deliver them rather than actually doing it. There was a guy who I'm going to actually get on the podcast. I joined EXP underneath him, and he just was one of the most successful real estate agents in the whole of North America, Canada and the UK in his first year of real estate. Now, he went about things completely differently, and this is something that you can do. Rather than just starting it like I did in America, which was with very, very little money behind me at all, and I just started it and I door knocked, and I spent a couple of £100 on door hangers, and then as I got deals, I reinvested it. He actually went to his brother-in-law, and I remember the figure off the top of my head, but I think it was like $50,000 he borrowed from him. He then he hired a full-time assistant, got himself an amazing website, spent a load of money on pay-per-click advertising, and he just went all in, and it paid off. And he invested a lot, but his returns were just astronomical within 1 year. So I would say there's different ways of going about it, and it depends on what financial support you've got behind you. Generally, I remember when I've had a few different businesses. I had a fancy dress shop once. I went to the bank and got a small business loan to give me the money to deck out the shop, get all my first stuff. And so there's different ways of going about setting up a business. The beauty of this particular business is you don't need that much at all. I mean, guys, what would you say? Say, for example, you rented a place, and you Jonathan, you gave a figure away of say $3,000 a month you need to live off, but it might even be say $2,000 a month. But once you've worked that out over 6 months, so say for example you only need $2,000 a month to live off, pay all your bills and everything like that. And you've got 6 months, you've got say 24 grand that you probably want to try and have saved to start with. But what figure would you put on it? Would you just say, you need obviously $1,000 to set up originally, you need some boards, you need some flyers. Would you say you're best maybe having 3 to 5 grand behind you on top of your wages just to start?
So again, it's all down to the individual, because I think, like you said, I mean, if you have someone that does have quite significant savings that they want to invest in this business, I think they could take it by storm. Because, if you've got a good marketing background, if you've got, I'm growing my business as I was, and and it's now I've got admin support. I've got almost like a semi full-time assistant that's helping with things like viewings and booking people and all that kind of stuff, which I'm just kind of trialing and finding my way into it. And I think the evolution of my business will grow to where I will have someone full-time working with us, and we're in the discussions about whether we build into a team or whatever. But if you came into that with a big marketing budget, a big admin budget, and a good business acumen, like you say, you could steamroll yourself into a very, very successful £250,000, £500,000 business very, very fast. But a lot of the people that we meet, and certainly in the industry themselves, are, and I was, until I started investing in property, living month to month, paycheck to paycheck. And you can't start any business without some form of capital investment. But the key point we're kind of sort of going over here now is that it is really down to what you already spend on yourself. Because the actual business itself, the actual investment into it is bits of paper, and mainly your time. Social media is free, so that's free advertising, and we use it extensively. You might not be into social media, but you should certainly learn a little bit more about it, because it's a free way of marketing yourself. But I went and bought, I got 1,000 flyers printed. That cost me about 150 quid. I got some paper, and I started printing off. I bought a prospecting tool, which was provided to me as a bolt-on through EXP, and that gave me a load of data. And at the time, I didn't have as much money to invest in the actual, let's say, prospecting side of things in terms of stamps and things. So I did a lot of hand delivering. So I walked around every Thursday was my day, and I sometimes walked for over 15 miles handing out flyers and letters.
Yeah, there's probably about 6 or 7 lead generation tactics. So when new agents join, we kind of go through all of their business foundations. Let's get your onboarding done. Right now, your business foundations, your Google business page, your Instagram. Now it's lead generation. What do we need to do to get an instruction? As John said, social media. Social media is free. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, data. What data do you have? Who can you mass spam? Who can you tell that you are in the industry and you can now sell? Are you in WhatsApp chats? Do you have data from what you've acquired over the years? John mentioned leaflet delivery as part of our network. We have a graphic design lady that we could recommend. She does awesome leaflets. I have had more luck when I've hand delivered the leaflets, and then also repurpose that content in local Facebook groups. Maybe put a little kind of comment that if you see a local agent, if it's raining, hand delivering leaflets, invite me in for a cup of coffee. So we have all of these tips to new agents to get their business going at a much quicker rate as well.
One of the things that I would
Yeah, I
also
think, go for it.
sorry, go ahead, John.
Go, John. No, I was just saying the point to just to think about is that I think the misconception that a lot of people have is that it costs loads and loads of money to get a real estate business off the ground, and in its traditional form, it does. It costs hundreds of thousands of pounds to do it. But now with what is basically, as James said, business in a box, you almost have an investor. You've got someone who's given you all of this, all of the tools that you need to act as an agent, but you're only paying them back for that when you do a deal. And of course, in those first couple of months, you're not doing any deals. You're not getting bills through the door, left, right, and centre, from Rightmove, from Zoopla, from your CRM system, from your call answering services. Now, this could be in a normal form and by yourself, be racking up behind you in massive amounts of debt. Now, all EXP want is their monthly subscription, and then when you do your first deal, you pay 30%. So almost you're paying a pay-as-you-go service. But I don't know, if you don't sell anything, no one's banging on your door saying, look, you haven't sold anything in the last 4 months. Where's our money? You know, it's all down to you and of course you want to be successful and you want to be productive, and that's how you'll keep the lights on and keep yourself going. But it's not KPI. It's not a job. It's done. You do it off your own back. But the actual financial outlay, it's not like you have to go and buy £25,000 worth of stock to sell in a shop and then hope that it sells to make a profit. All you have is a burn rate, and then your acquisition of your asset, which is your sale, your property to sell. Someone's giving you that. You didn't buy it to sell it. You marketed yourself, and someone gave it to you because they want to work with you. So that's the beauty of selling homes and renting homes, is the actual product that you're selling doesn't cost you personally to get it. You've just got to market yourself to be able to get it. And then there's so much low-hanging fruit.
One of the things I was going to say is my advice would be to plan ahead. So if this is something you're thinking about, a lot of people go, right, I'm going to do this I'm going to decide to do this in the summer. I'm going to decide to do this in January or whatever it is. Plan ahead with your move, because I know there are legalities in regards to, basically stealing data from companies and stealing customers and then doing it yourself and things. But if you plan ahead and you are very careful and selective about it, if you have anyone that's thinking about selling their home that maybe is a friend or something like that, then time it very carefully so that when you move, you've got business to go ahead with straight away.
Yeah.
In America, it's very similar. So in America, everyone is at a company very similar to EXP. Everyone works for themselves. Nobody gets a wage. Everyone's self-employed. And what you do when you're going to decide you're going to move to brokerage, because obviously there's thousands of people that have moved to EXP. It gets very complicated when you've got a load of deals that are already, going through, and you move, because it gets complicated with what commission has to go where and all this type of stuff. So you plan ahead and you're very selective. And what you do is you go, right, I'm not going to list this house for a month, or this one for a month, and this one for a month. And you close off your business with one company, and then when you start with the new one, you've got a load of new business just ready to go. And I think you've got to be if you can be quite clever about it, you may not even need that 6-month runway when you move across, because you might be able to get, like, as an example, if you're doing lettings, you might be able to go, right, let's just move across all this business to the new company, and you might be able to just go at it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, Scott West, prime example. So he's an Essex based over in it, an agent based over in Essex. He went live in February of this year, but he was at Foxton's, KFH, Joppa. He was currently at Purple Bricks. We started speaking to him last year. Went through all of his onboarding whilst he was still at Purple Bricks. Went through all of his business foundations, do this. So when he went live, he had 2 instructions to go live with, and he's absolutely smashed it. He's got 9 instructions already. in his 6 weeks. He's got 4 under offer because of all of the kind of preparation that we helped him with when he was employed. Because myself and John, we've learned what to do, what not to do. We know exactly any agent who reaches out to us, like, let's get this set up, let's do that. So when you do go live, you are absolutely flying, as opposed to me and John, who were sort of learning what to do for the first few months.
There's also to bear in mind that, I mean, again, it's not, we don't want it to come across as, well, back in our day it was harder, because it wasn't. But the point is that if we've now got 36 brokers working as part of our organisation, so the amount of collaborative deal that can be done is huge. I mean, just this WhatsApp this morning, on our group, we had 3 people with new buying searches post up saying, who's got a buy-to-let investing? I've got a buy-to-let investor looking at 450,000. Has anyone got anything? I spoke to Jack. I've got 2 flats for him. Hopefully he'll book that guy in to go and have a look at it tomorrow, and we'll get a sale out of it. Matthew Livingston, he's just started up down in Balham over the weekend. He did a load of viewings for me because I was doing viewings on other things. I can't be in 2 places at once. He's just got an offer on a place in Balham. We're going to split that 50-50. That just made him nearly $4,000 over a weekend. Yeah. So, you know, there is so much more activity going on.
Joining EXP under us, for example, is the fact that, especially in London, the network that you boys have built up in London, is people can come in and immediately make money from other people's business by exactly what Jonathan said. They can come in, go and do some viewings, get some business, and get going quicker than if they just did it by themselves.
Yeah, I put a post on LinkedIn last week. I think there was 8 deals that the network had been involved in. Ashley's done 3 leads that kind of came to me. I was away. He valued them. He sold them. Wilma, she's done, I forgot half of them. Wilma's done 2 rentals, 2 sales for me. Camilo's just started out. I was away, did a deal for me in Streatham. Myself and John, we are co-listing a flat in Battersea. Jeroen, Yumi and Jeroen, we've got a co-listing flat, SW11 here, the place in Crystal Palace. Like, there's so much that any agent can get going on from day one.
And just awesome. On that, I think for any broker or agent that doesn't live in London, for example, who's thinking about doing this, I think it's a key point is that we can replicate that in your town or in your area. So if you once you get on board and get your business going, we can teach you on how to do that for yourself, so that you can create your own little collaborative network in town or wherever you live. And that gives you things like holiday cover. It gives you the ability to be able to increase or to duplicate yourself. And I think one of the things that sometimes, myself included, when I first started, I looked around and I was like, oh, there's another broker down the road who's doing the same thing as me. That must be competition. And actually what you learn is that, one, there's enough listings to go around. If you think about if you put a Rightmove search in a mile radius if you're out of London, or quarter mile radius if you're in London, how many listings are there? If you could take just 10% of that, we'd all be millionaires. So there's enough to go round, and it's better that you can collaborate rather than be in competition. So it's good having brokers around you, especially if they're part of your downline.
Cool. Guys, how do we get hold of you? If anyone has any questions about this or wants to learn more about joining EXP under us, how would we get hold of you, Jonathan?
So just if you Google Jonathan Woods, you should get a multiple number of different streams to get hold of me. LinkedIn on there is Jonathan Woods Real Estate. You can get me on Instagram as the_London agent.
James, how would we get hold of you?
Yeah, Instagram, James Hughes Property, or Google James Hughes powered by EXP.
Awesome. And if you want to get hold of me, it would be on Instagram, JG_EXP, or James George on LinkedIn. Thank you, guys. I know you've got another action-packed day of real estate. So if anyone wants to be on the podcast, we're always looking for people. Please do reach out, and please do give us a follow and a review on the podcast as well. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thank you very much.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.